NAK. Let's start off with NAK Kenya leader Martha Karua, who is with me. Do you think he should go beyond Parliament in these talks about the IEBC and the Joint Select Committee? Absolutely. Elections in Kenya are not about Code and Jubilee. They're about every Kenyan. And I wish to remind the Jubilee administration that Article 10, National Values and Principles of Governance, foremost among them is public participation. Secondly, inclusiveness. So any talks should be open to the religious leaders, to civil society, to workers, to the county government. You don't even need to be a political party. We've been here before as a country. In 1997, what became IPPG was because, again, the electoral body then, the Electoral Commission of Kenya, lacked the confidence of the public. And the opposition was threatening to boycott the election. And this is what led to what came to be known as IPPG, which President Moi allowed the opposition to have a hand in picking commissioners for the ECK. It was actually not just election issue. It was many things, including the review of the Public Security Act, if you remember. I was one of the people who formed the IPPG. So it was a raft of issues, but among them, the nomination of commissioners of IEBC. At that time, the ECK then? Of the ECK. At that time, the Constitution did not mention anything about public participation. But the KANU government yielded and allowed negotiations. We formed the group in Parliament, the IPPG group, and we opened it up. We could receive memorandums from members of the public. And civil society did submit memorandums to Parliament. And civil society, that was not as participatory as round 2. After the elections, we met again to chart away a legal framework for the Constitution. Those talks were in Bomas of Kenya. They were in Safari Park. They included everybody, parliamentarians, people from all walks of life. That was 97. That was 97 and 98. That history lesson is important because in the National Assembly, the majority leader, Aden Duale, has been saying you betrayed the spirit of IPPG, especially when you're Justice and Legal Affairs Minister. And I want to play what he said earlier this week. This is Aden Duale.
In 2006, when Mother Karua was the Minister for Justice and Legal Affairs, and half of those, about 7 of them, of those commissioners, term expired. The current president, who was the leader of the opposition, walked to Mother Karua's office. And when Uhuru Kenyatta told her, can we discuss the replacement of these members whose term has expired? Mother Karua, what she did, and I'm sure if she was here, she could have agreed with me, she threw the Constitution to Uhuru Kenyatta across the table and asked him, show me where it's written that I should consult you. She went ahead, she replaced 6 of them. And that is what brought the 2007 post-election violence. The 6 that she nominated went and disagreed with the late Kivitu.
So 2 fundamental claims there. One, that you're partly responsible for the post-election violence. But let me get through the easier one. Did you throw the Constitution at then Uhuru Kenyatta, leader of opposition? When we have leaders who turn into rumor mongers, it becomes very difficult to even respond to them. To begin with, when we replaced commissioners in 2007, President Uhuru Kenyatta, who was then the leader of official opposition, had already started negotiating with Kibaki. So it is not true at all that he ever came to me to ask. Did this meeting never happened? It never happened. Uhuru Kenyatta never came to you and said, let's agree. I'll then tell you about him. The only person who approached me, and it was in Parliament, it was Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And he asked me whether we were going to allow them to nominate commissioners. And I reminded him that technically he belonged to NAC. NARC, National Rainbow Coalition. Therefore, we could not give him any commissioners. But as for Uhuru, he had already started talks with Kibaki, and therefore he did not need to come to us. And because he headed a political party, I personally asked him whether he wanted the KANU nominees in the Electoral Commission to be returned. And he told me with his own mouth, I have no problem, return them.
But
I would want the president himself, because he's the one I dealt with. And it was not in my office. It was again in Parliament. He never came to my office, and my office was at Cooperative Building, and he never came there. And I want to tell you, looking at you straight in the eyes and looking at Kenyans. So Aden Duale, the leader of majority, should not peddle falsehoods. He should not turn into a rumor mill on things he is not privy to.
You said earlier that you are part of those who were part of IPPG.
Yes.
And yet it is during your time as Justice Minister that these 6 ECK commissioners were appointed without taking into account the spirit of IPPG.
Actually,
and President Kibaki...
There were 10, not 6.
President Kibaki memorably said this was a gentleman's agreement that he was not bound by.
No, what happens within government, as a minister, you are a delegate of the president. You are there to advise him and then act on the decision given. And it was agreed, and I take responsibility. I was minister. We could not give those who technically belonged to our party, because then you would be encouraging defections. So we couldn't give people who are in the Orange Democratic Movement, like Right Honorable Raila, yet he was technically a member of NAC. We did not give them the right to choose.
But
I was requested to replace those commissioners with people from the same areas they came from through consultation with parliamentarians of that area. And if people were to say the truth, there are parliamentarians, some of whom are senators today, some of whom are now in the National Assembly, whom we discussed with, and that's how I got those names.
But that is a fairly limited consultative process. It goes far beyond what you're now asking this same government of Uhuru Kenyatta to do.
Yes.
So how have you changed tune twice? From IPPG into doing this as Justice Minister into trying to go back to IPPG or some form of IPPG?
So really, are we now going to ignore the constitution that the government is singing about? The constitution is the one that says there must be public participation. It gives that window. So when CORD is demanding a talk, they are also demanding, not just as a political party, but with the authority of the Constitution. Article 10, I have already said it. So public participation is something we as Kenyans agreed in 2010. We have therefore moved from 206. 206 is after the failed referendum.
All right.
We have moved away from there. We are now guided by statute. And even when there is no constitutional provision, like during the KANU era, common sense can guide, because there is no law that outlaws negotiations, consultations, and agreement.
Okay.
That is why President Moi and KANU were able to allow Bomas and Safari Park talks without an express constitutional provisions. And I just want to say this, assuming that what is being said is correct, if Martha Karua and the Kibaki government make a mistake in 2007, so is it worth saying that you are now showing obstinacy because you want to replicate? But
is that what you're saying? Are you conceding that it was a mistake in 2007?
Let me tell you.
So you're not conceding it was a mistake?
It was not, because technically they belonged to our party.
Okay.
So we consulted and we said, no, we can't give them. But for KANU, which was the official opposition, I can even name their commissioners.
All right.
We returned them.
Let's leave it there for the moment, because I want to bring in Aden Duale, who we're fortunate to have from his home in Nairobi today.
Yeah.
And he's got some points of view. You've had, Honorable Duale, what Martha Karua says regarding what exactly happened in 2006 and how those 10 commissioners were appointed. Your reaction?
Thank you, Larry. You know, it's good to see Mother Karua in different mutations. I have seen Mother Karua, who was a member of parliament in the opposition during Mzee Moi. I also had the privilege to see Mother Karua, who was a very powerful constitutional minister. And now I am seeing a Mother Karua who has lost election and she is in the opposition. So let me say this. Number one, for us to understand the current IEBC crisis, we need to deal with the history. In 1992, when President Moi agreed to the IPPG, which was a parliamentary-driven process, the law then allowed President Moi to elect and select the commissioners that were to serve in the Electoral Commission. Then the opposition raised issues, and Mzee Moi then allowed the opposition to submit names under the IPPG framework on gentleman's agreement, so there was no law. Then the election that followed in 2002, the opposition won, and Mother Karua became a very powerful minister, very powerful, very arrogant, and well connected in the Kibaki government. What happened in 2006? Between 6 and 7 commissioners' term expired, and the leader of the opposition was then the current president.
So is it your submission,
and I want her
that
to look straight in the eyes to the people of Kenya. And she said, when Uhuru Kenyatta asked, now how do we replace the commissioners whose term was over? Mother Karua said it was, the IPPG was between then herself, an opposition leader, and President Moi, who was now has retired. And she told Uhuru Kenyatta, through the Constitution, ask him, show me where it's written in the Constitution.
Right.
And the current president walked out. She selected single-handedly, and she's confirming. She's even saying, I have consulted leaders from regions.
Honorable Duale, hang on, stand by for a second, because Mother Karua wants to jump in there. If you could just give us a moment. Yes, go ahead.
Uhuru was already in bed with the Kibaki government, and they were negotiating what became their joint
Larry.
whatever in 2007, if you remember.
Right.
2007 is when he came into government.
Right.
So there were,
Larry, let me set the record straight.
Hang on, Honorable Duale, one moment, Honorable Duale.
I am just saying that you cannot listen to rumors when the first-hand information is here. Duale was not a confidant of Uhuru. You see, the people who were close to Uhuru that time is Akina Dalmas Otieno,
right,
who I already was with in what we are calling a sectoral committee.
Right.
So what I'm saying is this. I am saying with a straight face, Uhuru never came to me on the issue of IEBC. On the contrary, it is me who talked to him in Parliament and asked him whether he would like us to return the KANU commissioners.
All right, Duale, you've heard. She says this meeting never happened and you're making it up.
Yeah, and I would like Uhuru to say with his own mouth.
Yes, go ahead, Duale.
I want the mother to listen to me. You know, she's now claiming that she knew all the confidence and friends and the foes of the former leader of the opposition. You know, she's so confused. In 2005, President Uhuru Kenyatta, leader of the opposition, was a member of the ODM team. That time we formed, we were in the Banana and Orange. And I remember Mother Karua and her team being chased from Garissa, because Garissa was Orange then. So I want Mother to relax, because I have to have my say. So
go
what
ahead,
happened
have
in
your say real quick.
2006, as she's saying, she consulted some leaders and then appointed commissioners, one of them from northern Kenya. She knows, and I want her conscience to be very clear. And what happened? Those commissioners are the ones who created the problem for Chairman Kivitu. May his soul rest in peace. And then we went to post-election violence. Then we went to the Serena talks. Then we had Kriegler. Then we had a new constitution.
Are you saying,
Duale,
are you saying that the post-election violence was partly a creation of Martha Karua because of her action with the ACK commissioners?
Her action contributed to the disputed elections. And that's why you remember Chairman Kivitu at one time was not in control of half of his commissioners, mainly who were appointed by Mother Karua. Mother Karua needs to apologize to the people of Kenya. In fact, she should have been taken to ICC, not William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta.
Hang on, let her respond to that just right now. What
the
do you
only
want to
person who should apologize is Duale for becoming a rumor mill and for giving false allegations, because a leader of the position he has been given, you must have respect for the truth. It is true that Uhuru Kenyatta was a member of the Orange movement in the Banana Orange campaigns. But then, towards early 2007, he started leaning towards Kibaki. We replaced the commissioners the second half of 2007, when he was already a key member planning the re-election of Kibaki. So he had no issue. The only person who came to me and who should complain is Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and it was in Parliament at the Speaker's room. And I told him why we will not, because those were the instructions.
All right.
And that was that. And I'm saying this, and I asked this to Duale in the last meeting I encountered him. Let's assume that everything done was wrong. Did that okay someone going to order murder of other people? Two wrongs don't make a right. If today I wrong you, there are processes. You can go through the legal process. Even in 2007, when ODM was complaining, I told them go to court. Our courts were not exactly okay, but I likened them to a leaking roof. If you have a leaking roof in your house, you do not take your bed and sleep outside in the rain. You look for a corner in that house which is leaking where you can sleep pending repairs.
All right.
So our courts were still functional.
Okay.
As they were.
Let me ask this to Honorable Duale a different way. Is it there for your presentation that Martha Karua has no business asking for dialogue when she did not push for it in 2006?
No, I didn't say that. Now, I haven't finished. The 2010 Constitution
Yes.
provided Chapter 15 of the Constitution on commissions and independent institutions. For the first time, the electoral system in our country was put in the Constitution. The hiring, the firing, the operation mandate of the Electoral Commission was documented in the Constitution. And we are saying that today, today the Constitution has insulated the political class, the referee, from any engagement in its composition and in its recruitment and removal. And now let me say it lastly. Mother Karua can confirm that IPPG was a parliamentary process.
Right.
And those parties which are not represented in parliament were coming, and all the stakeholders, the church, the civil society, the business community, the youth and the women, and all the political parties that are not represented in parliament will all come and present their views to a select committee of parliament.
Okay.
Under Article 118 of the Constitution on the principle of public participation. Oh, that's all we're saying. And today, Mother Karua is asking, why am I not being involved? Mother Karua has been dining with court the last 6 months. So her representation is from court. The 11 members, she quoted Raila Odinga.
Okay.
They are
all right.
bedfellows. She cannot run away from him today.
All right,
so she'll go and sit with Raila Odinga and
that.
Kalonzo Musyoka, and they should tell her we are going to represent you.
What is your reaction to that?
I
And
think
she
these
must
are
swallow
some
her
of
ego.
the problems we have of people who do not seem to understand boundaries. To begin with, the fact that we as NARC Kenya, why as Mother Karua is associating with CORD, does not dissolve NARC Kenya or dissolve my rights as a citizen. Public participation is not even about political parties. And I want to give it to Duale that yes, IPPG was a parliamentary process and memorandums were brought from outside. Up to there you are right, but you are dead wrong after that. Because 1998, immediately after the elections, we rejected the law that the KANU-dominated parliament, which I was a member, had hurriedly passed for constitutional review. And we said we want a law where people have participated. Although there was no legal framework for that, there was again no legal hindrance because dialogue is never illegal.
Right.
So President Moi and the KANU government agreed, and we started the Bomas and the Safari Park talks, which ended with a committee chaired by Bishop Sulumeti, retired Bishop Sulumeti. I was a joint secretary together with Dr. Wanjiko Kabera. It had people like Kebuda Kibwana and many others. And that's how we made the first Constitution of Kenya Review Act, 2008.
Okay.
So what I want to put to Honorable Duale is that if the KANU government, when there was no legal framework, could agree to sit down with Kenyans, how can the Jubilee administration try to run away from an express provision of the Constitution? Public
right.
participation is included there, although it is envisaged that that public is represented by members of parliament.
Okay.
But it doesn't take away our individual rights.
All right, I have one question for each of you. I'll start with Honorable Duale. CORD today said to Raila Odinga that there was an agreement for 2 members from each side, CORD and Jubilee, to agree on the wider agenda that this 11-member team will discuss. Is that true?
Larry, we following the president's statement on Wednesday. This morning we had a parliamentary group meeting chaired by our party leader and the president and the deputy party leader, also the deputy president. We agreed to nominate 11 members led by Honorable Kaitu Murungi.
Right.
And we are waiting for CORD to nominate the 11. If they say they want to nominate 4, we are ready. If they say 7, we are ready. If they say 6,
what about these other 2 from each side they're talking about? Is there anything about the 2?
That, we are ready for engagement. And no, as I'm talking to you, the team leader, Honorable Kaitu Murungi, from State House, he drove to Meru. And we are not aware of that, but we are ready for any number 2, 3, 8. And once we agree, Monday, Tuesday, we want...
so there's no subcommittee within this wider committee?
Department of Parliament to... No, we have... as far as we are concerned, we have nominated members to the select committee.
All right.
In parliamentary terms, before the full actualization of a select committee, you can't have a committee within a committee.
All right.
So unless the motion of a select committee goes to the House, then is approved, then the select committee can have subcommittees.
All right, Honorable Duale, thank you so much for your time today.
We have nominated 11. Our colleagues can nominate 5, can nominate 2, but we have no any other engagement.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Honorable Aden Duale, with us from Kembu Road. And I have a question for you. You associate a lot with CORD. Are you still running for president next year?
Of course I am. As opposition parties, we work together. But that doesn't mean that Kenya has dissolved or has become a member of CORD. We are CORD's friends. And if Kenyans have a very short memory, during the Moi era, Moi Kanu era, the opposition used to come together and work together in parliament, although different parties. When it's election time, each party goes its own way.
So you're still a presidential candidate next year?
Oh, yes, I am. And I want to say this, that even during the Kibaki era, because credit must be given where it is due, after the failed referendum, we instituted, under my leadership as constitutional minister, a multi-sectoral committee to look for minimum reforms. That committee fell because opposition in parliament refused to let the reforms go on.
Honorable Martha Karua, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it. Honorable Martha Karua, Honorable Aden Duale, thank you both for coming on this evening. We are going to continue, obviously, covering all of these issues extensively on NTV.